Okay, it is now recording. Yes. So so we'll just see what benefit it could bring. So one definite difference that you'll see now, that once you have this table, when you go to insert pivot table, you will see that there is a name that is given to this table one. So the entire range has got a name, which is table one, which is what we could use. And typically when we use pivot table or pivot chart, I would recommend to use table instead of a range, because that is one unit which you can working with. And this can get added also. So right now we have sales as a column. We can add a new column. So let me zoom in a little bit, and let me just add a new column, say profit. I just type profit here, and the table has expanded itself, right? And it has said that uh, it kind of added one column over there with the same color. And then obviously there is a auto thing, is auto expansion, table auto expansion. You can disable it, but this is a desired feature. We want it to be there, right? And then you may want to add something. Now I'll just do a very simplistic assumption that this company makes maybe 10% profit. I'll just quickly add a formula which says sales multiplied by zero point 0.1. Okay. Uh, those of who will feel that this is not a very fair assumptions, you can also do a randomization. So instead of saying zero point 0.1, you could multiply with a random number, which could be 0 to zero point 0.1, and that could 0 to 1, sorry, and that could also be there. But we'll make a very simplistic thing and do it like profit as 10%. So this is how I got a profit, and you can see that this whole formula is also applied automatically to all the rows. Yeah, so we got a profit column over here. Is this doable? Did anybody face any difficulty in doing this?
Uh, Sorry, I had just one question. If you could just highlight how to define the range. Sorry, we missed it.
How to define the range, or you want to say how to format a table?
Yeah, you had mentioned one is formatting it as a table, other
Mm.
is using it as a range. So, when you say
So,
using it as a range,
mhm. So wherever you have data,
mhm.
in a continuous rows and columns, that's a range by default.
Okay, okay,
Typically,
that
when we use Excel and we type in data, what we're using is a range. So there
okay,
are sale and there's a range. Formatting the table is an additional option that you could have, and that will actually help you to, first of all, get better look and feel, but you get a full name, the name for this entire range essentially, and the table could be auto expanded. So even if you add more rows to it, it would be really useful. Now, why do I say
understood.
we should use tables when you're using pivot table? Is because when you insert a table, so when you do this insert pivot table, we would do table one. Now, if you add certain rows later, they'll automatically get added. So that may not happen with a range that well. So always use format as a table whenever you are using a pivot table. Yeah. Okay. So let's now go ahead and insert pivot table. So we actually need to do insert pivot chart. Okay. But just before that, we'll do a pivot table. Just a quick introduction to pivot table, and then we'll get into pivot chart and pivot table. Yeah. So for the time being, let me just go ahead and insert a pivot table. Like create, so you say table range, table one. If you have a cursor inside this table, that will automatically pick it up. If it is not, then you need to type it there. So generally, I recommend you put your cursor inside the table and then just select insert, and it inserts a pivot table. Now, whenever it inserts, you actually get a very blank screen sort of it, right? And you have some pivot table one here, and then there are pivot table fields, which what you see in the right hand side. That's one thing that you should see. You'd also see that in the ribbon you got pivot table tools as another tab. Rather, there are two tabs: analyze and design. Depending on the version of Excel that you're using, you may see it little differently. It may say pivot table analyze and pivot table design, but essentially you will get two different uh, tabs essentially in the ribbon: analyze and design. Okay. And in analyze, you could also see that there are these three icons towards the right: field list, plus or minus button field headers. Right now we are seeing field list. If I click on that, it will disappear. If I click back on it, it appears. So it's a toggling the appearance of pivot table fields. Now what I will be doing to begin with, I would uh, like to see. So by the way, before this getting into this, let me just quickly ask you this question. What is this data all about? Can somebody look at the data, or rather everybody, please look at the data and tell me what does this data all about? You may want to put it in the chat or unmute yourself and talk. What is this data all about? What is this telling us? Just take a couple of minutes to go through the data.
It could be a order table, like transactions against some orders, shipment,
Yes. Yes.
correct. Yeah.
Right. This is some lot of orders kind of a data. Uh, then yes, in the chat window, I see some messages. Yes, Vasant is saying order details of a company having multiple products and customers. Shipment data that shows which containers go which country. Yes, Shetal. So this order and shipment kind of a data which is there. Now, whenever you get this data, it becomes very challenging to kind of understand what this data telling us. So that is where we want to visualize it. Yeah. So fair enough. So what is the typical way whenever you get data? Let us you get a file, Excel file, and you get data. What do you, and if you don't know what this data telling you, what is there in the data, what do you do typically to begin with? How do you start looking into the data, not analyzing per se, but trying to understand, making a sense of the data? So how, what do you typically do to begin with when you get data in Excel? What do you do? How do you start understanding the data?
You get the columns first. Okay. What
Yes.
what those columns are correct, and then when you know what the columns you have, then it could make sense. Uh,
Yes.
what could be there, in the file.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
the columns are self-explanatory. Like here they are: product name, sales, subcategory, category. So they kind of, we kind of figure it out. Okay, this is all about shipment, or this is country data, and so on. So that is one first step that you start with. You look at the column names, and that itself is a big step, because it will kind of tell us what is the data could be all about. And obviously you could look at like order date, dates are there, right, and so on. So that's a glance at the data. Just scrolling the data, you kind of get some idea, like there's a subcategory there, category there, product names are there. Okay, so you get some sense of it. What do you do next after this? If you want to know more understanding of the data, what will you do next? Plotting the data. Okay, so what's the thing? Plotting the data, which will now start getting into. Anything else that you
Correct.
would do other than plotting?
Maybe like what what is the range? Like suppose if it's a order date, okay, so like from what date to what date and something like that.
So how do
What
you
is the
do that? How do
range?
you get to know the range?
So maybe I know from pivots like how you can do that,
Okay,
but
pivot is definitely
yeah,
there, but without pivot,
yeah,
is there anything that you would do?
no idea.
Okay, I'm sure you do it. We're not, this is so obvious that we actually apply filter, right? So now, because we are using a format as a table, the filters are automatically there. But otherwise, we go to this filter and apply filter. And once we apply filter, you get an idea like ship mode. There are only four values of ship mode, right? And then obviously ship date, you could actually get a range that this data is from 2015 to 2019. Similarly, for order date, you could get the same idea. Uh, Customer ID is what you can look at, but that may not be so meaningful because there's so much of values over there. But something like country, if you filter, there's only one country. So there's a column called country, but there's only one country. There's no other. So that way the column is not that meaningful because it talks about only one country. We're talking about three segments here. There are many cities and many states and region. Maybe that is something which you'll see, and we'll see there are four regions over there. So filtering is something that is the next step. After looking at the columns, you may want to apply a filter and just look at what kind of values are there. And then, as Atul said, we obviously need to use a pivot table to get a better idea of it. So pivot table is nothing but more of a aggregation of a data to get a better idea. So for example, we are looking at this product and we say, what, and obviously most importantly, we're looking at the sales kind of a data, right? Sales is a prime value here, which we'll want to see. So we want to see sales. We want to say category wise sales. That is something that we want to see. So that is where will pivot table will come handy. So I'll go down and click on sales. So I see sum of sales, which is by default. So it could be sum of sales. It could be something else also. We'll talk about that. But let us look at now category wise sales. So I click on category. I look at, and category, when I click on it, it goes in rows and I can see category wise sales. Okay. So I see furniture, office supplies, technology. There are three categories that we see. And then that's what we see as a thing. So which is the category which is generating maximum sales? Which category generating maximum sales?
Furniture category.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
number one. Which is number two?
Technology.
Okay, and then number three is office supplies. Okay,
Office supplies.
okay. Now this is the rows. We could also put something in column, right? So let us go ahead and do that. So let me just pick up the state. I'm not picking country because there's only one country. So I'm picking state. So if I click on it, it goes here, which is not what I want. I want it in the column. So I need to drag it down to columns. And then obviously it's become a little bigger. And I see that there are multiple thing here. And maybe again, since we're talking about dashboards later, we need to be a little worried about the visual appearance of it. So though it's a table, we may want to change the way it is. So we'll put state in rows. Let me put category over here and state over here. Why I'm doing this? Why I'm putting state here and category there? I mean, you can put it either way, doesn't really matter. But I'm doing state in rows and category in columns. Why am I doing it?
The number of values, distinct values.
Yes, yes. So I mean, just that it's easier to scroll down than scroll right. I mean, actually, it's easier both way, but we're more comfortable scrolling down rather than scrolling towards right. If you happen to get more values in particular variable, then you may want to put it in the rows. Okay, okay. So technically, you can do either way. You can put whichever way you want to put it. But again, when you are creating a pivot table or a pivot chart or dashboard, we want to see it convenience of users, and it's more convenient to scroll down. So if you need to really scroll down something, you should always put it vertical scroll down rather than right hand scroll down. So that's the reason we are putting it over here. Yeah. So with this, uh, we would get this. Okay. Uh, did everybody get it?
Yes.
Okay. Is anybody not so far got this? Any difficulty in getting this? Please raise your hand if you face any difficulty in doing this. Don't worry if you feel that this is too simple. Why I'm not getting it? Please stop because we are going and kind of ending this workshop with a dashboard. So we want everybody to do it. So if you have any difficulty, please stop me in between. Okay. So this is what we got now. Again, which state has the maximum revenue? Which state has the maximum revenue? You may put it in the chat window or unmute yourself and tell which state has the maximum revenue.
California.
Okay. Other value.
This is India.
4,46,000 something.
Which state?
California.
California. Right. So this is bigger. Which is the number 2 state? Which is the number 2 state? New York. Okay, that's what Vatsal said. New York. Good. Yeah. So New York is the number 2, and similarly we could go and find out what is number 3 and number 4 and so on and so forth. Okay. So far so good. Okay. So now we'll go back to this data, and this time we'll try to insert a pivot chart. Okay. So I'll just go here, insert, and I would have an option of inserting both pivot chart and pivot table. For the time being, we'll insert both pivot chart and pivot table. And typically we'll open a new worksheet and we'll say it's the same table one. So I did that, and now I can see there's a pivot table here, the area kind of designated here, and there's a chart one over here. Okay. And let me do the same thing again. What we did, we'll look at category, and we look at sales. Okay. Okay. So does it help now to know which one is number 1, number 2, number 3?
Yes, visual is much clearer.
Yes, visual is much clearer, right? So now to make it even more clearer, what we could do is that we could also apply sorting. So I'm just click on this category button over here. Okay, and there's sort options, and I'll say ascending, or let me to do descending by sum of sales, and I just say okay, and I get this kind of a chart, right? So it's very clear which is number 1, number 2, number 3. Obviously, when you look at numbers also, you see that, but you know this is I mean you can sort here also, but this is much better, right?
Sir, can you redo the same?
Yes, I'll do that. So I just did undo now. So we click on category here, and then there are more sort options, and then I'm selecting descending, not by category, because when you say category it does alphabetical. I would say sum of sales, and I say okay, and this is how I get it. So the same thing also done with technology, furniture, office supplies. So let me undo again and show it here also. Here also you can do it, row labels. So you can do multiple ways, more sort options, descending, sum of sales. Okay. Now we can see technology is number 1. So we saw, I think furniture we thought earlier as a maximum, right? Initially when we looked at data, because there is a 4 decimal places over here, so it looks bigger number. But actually, if technology is number 1, furniture is number 2, and office supply is number 3. Is this clear?
Can you repeat from the start?
Yes, I'll do that. So let me start with data, insert. I'll do pivot chart and pivot table. Click on this. I will insert in a new worksheet. Then I can go and I want it category wise. I'll search for category. I looking at the sales. So I get this chart. Yeah. Now once I get this chart, I could click on this category button. Yeah. and there is a more sort options. So if you just sort A to Z or sort Z to A, that is for the labels, category labels essentially. But I want to sort not by category, but by sum of cells. Okay, and that's how it is. So your numbers in the table also will change, and the pivot chart will also simultaneously they will change. So it's not that you will see something here and not there. So this will simultaneously change. Huh? Is this clear to everyone? So if this is clear to everyone, then you have to create a chart for state. So just we have looked at category wise sales. Create a chart which shows state wise sales. So this I'm saying category wise sale. Similarly, create a state wise sales chart. So do it right now and then share your screen and show it how you have done it. So please go ahead and do it now. Is there anyone else who wants me to repeat? I can repeat this.
Yeah, yeah. Can you repeat it a little slowly because you little slowly.
Sure, sure.
How
I'll do that.
how did you get this chart first? You did a insert, right? Insert chart,
Okay,
right?
I'll do that.
You selected the
Yes.
data and then inserted the chart, right?
Insert pivot chart. So
Okay.
okay, so I'll begin again. I'll just show it again.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
in insert tab, there is a pivot chart and pivot table. Do you see that? If you have different version of Excel, the positioning of the menu will be a little different. But do you get this insert pivot chart and
Okay,
pivot table? Did you get it?
correct.
Do you
Yeah.
see that? Yeah. So then you get a
Pivot
dialog
chart.
box, create pivot table. Yeah. And then I say okay. So it opens up a new worksheet with pivot table, pivot chart, a blank pivot table, blank pivot chart, and you see a pivot chart fields. Did you
Okay.
get that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now you select category. I'm doing category only, so let us do category. And you could also do sales. So sales will come in the values. And you get a chart, readily available chart.
Correct.
Just do it simultaneously and let me know whether you are reached this stage.
Yeah. Okay, I
Okay.
am there. Yeah.
And then you can click on category,
Okay,
more
let
sort
me click on
options.
that. More sort options. Okay.
You can say descending or ascending, but select some of this in the drop down
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, okay, okay.
and then say okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Now do
thank you.
it similarly, another chart which is state wise
The same. Same. Yeah, state.
and sort it accordingly. Yeah. So let me stop sharing my screen. Uh, Let me stop sharing my screen. And then whoever has done, just quickly share your screen. So maybe Vasanthi, do you want to just quickly share your screen to see how it is? So just quickly share your screen.
Able to see?
It's just coming in. Yes. Okay. So you see, can you sorted also? Very good. Excellent. Perfect. Yeah. You can stop sharing now.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess one more person said yes, right? So yes. Uh, please share your screen. Okay. So Jagdish was sharing the screen. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So that is how it is being seen. Is somebody getting it differently? Then you can tell us. Mandar, you could also do it. Could you also share your screen if you're done?
Yeah, yeah, I'll share it. Just a minute.
Lesson number 24.
Can you see my screen?
It's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is how the data looks like.
Okay. Good. Perfect. Okay. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes for everybody to do it. If you're getting something differently or if you're not able to do it, you can tell me so. So this session is being recorded so that you could look at it again if you want to. So if you have missed somewhere in between or you get disconnected or something because of network issues, you can always look at what you lost by referring to this video. So I'll share the link once we finish it. Okay, so let me just share my screen again. So we're talking about a state level. So let me do it here. Again, let me go ahead, insert pivot chart, pivot table. I'm saying select a table range, table 1. And this time I'm selecting state. There are so many states in US. So this is how I get it. And we know how to sort it. So we have just a state, more sort options, some of cells, and okay. So this is what everybody would have got it. Okay. What I can do is that this legend is not so meaningful. It's just a total. So I may just click on this plus icon over here. So this is a plus icon, which is shows which elements to see or which elements should not be seen. So if I click on this, it shows that chart title is seen, grid lines are shown, legend is shown. So I will just tick mark here. It will hide the legend essentially. So that's how we get it. And then if I kind of expand it, then I see it a little better maybe. If I just make this chart a little better. Okay. So this basically tells us the number 1, number 2. So and all that, right? So we said California is number 1, which is number 2. We said New York, right? But New York is not seen here. So if I just make it bigger, that will see New York, show us New York. So why it is not showing it earlier? Any idea? So now we see
Maybe the space.
yes. So Excel intelligently labels the axis. So right now it is showing California, then Washington. That is skipping 2 states. Then it is showing Illinois after that, and so on. So it is skipping 2 states when it is compacted, and then when we expand it, it will show all, because it doesn't want to kind of clutter the whole labeling part of it. Now such chart, though it's useful to begin with, that you chose number 1, number 2 sort of it, may not be so much useful. So when you have small values like what we looked at category wise cells, it was very meaningful. There are only 3 categories, you could see it, right? But when you're having this large thing, it may not be so meaningful. But what could be interesting to us typically is look at top 5 states. Okay, top 5 states in terms of revenue or in terms of sales. So which are the top 5 states that we want to see? So we know there are California, New York, Texas, Washington, Pennsylvania. There are the 5 top states. So we just want to ensure that we just see only top 5 states. Okay, if that's the case, then we need to do filtering, right? That's what we do, filtering. So we'll do filtering here. So this is an interesting step. So click on state. There's a button here, state button. You can click on that. And there are two types of filters that we see. One is called label filters, which are basically applicable for labels, the text values. And second is value filters, okay, which is very equal to similar what we see even when do normal filters, like equal to, does not equal, greater than, and so on. And there's something also top 10 over here. So I'll click on top 10. Now, interestingly, when I say top 10, it's not necessarily only top 10. It could be bottom 10 also. I mean, I could do bottom 10 also, or you can do top 10, or you can change this number. So I can say top 5. Okay, just type in there. It says top 5 items or percentage or top sum. So we set items for the timing, but we could change anything. Right now there's only sales available, so we'll just put sum of sales. And then I say okay. Okay. And here I get top 5 labels or top 5 items. Okay. So this is now, even if we make it smaller, that's perfectly fine because we are getting only top 5. Is this clear?
Can you just repeat once?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. So I'll start again here. I will say insert, pivot chart, and pivot table.
Then I want only the sorting the 5 if you can. Okay.
Oh,
fine.
okay. Sorting. I think that, okay, fair enough. Sorting or filtering? We did filtering.
Filtering, sorry.
Filtering. Yes. So in filter, let me just clear the filter first. So you can click on the state and go to value filter. So there are two types of filters: label filters and value filters. Label filters are applicable for textual values. Value is for numbers. So here value filters, I have a option called top 10. So I click on top 10. I could do top or bottom, but I will go for top. And here I can change. I can make it top 5. You can increase or decrease. So I'll make it top 5 items. Again, there could be percentage and some other options, but I'll just say top 5 items by sum of sales. That is how I'll do it. And I'll say OK. So now it is coming as a top 5 items.
You got it. Thank you.
Now, when we do this, now by default, the chart type is bar chart, rather column chart. So in Excel, it's called as a column chart. Okay. So by default, it is column chart, and we see this. Now we don't see it correctly, so we need to expand it and do it like this. But the other option also is to change the chart type to maybe look at the bar chart. Okay. So you might have observed by now that whenever I'm clicking on this pivot chart, in the ribbon, I get new tab or other collection of tab called pivot chart tools, which has analyze, design, and format. So if I click on analyze, I see some menu options. If I click on design, then I see many options, including different styles. Okay. Which you can choose. You can over the mouse and you can see there are different options which are available. Styles are available. And there's something also change chart type. Okay, you see in pivot chart tools design, change chart type. When I click on that, I see there's a chart here. There are different types which are available, and we may want to pick a bar chart. Okay, so this is how we can change a chart type. So now it will show like a bar chart. So this is how you could get it. So you could see the numbers are sorted in the table, and they're also sorted in the chart, and you see these are bar chart, not a column chart. Yeah. So this is how you can change a chart type. Is this clear? Do you want me to repeat? Please let me know. Please do it also. I mean, just don't watch this, but please do it also along with
Can you
me.
please repeat it, sir?
Yeah, I'll do that. So let me undo first. Okay. So you have to select the chart first of all. So if your cursor is somewhere else, you will not see that menu in the ribbon. So you need to select it carefully, and then go ahead for pivot chart tools design. Okay, and in the design you will see a change chart type. So you click on the chart, change chart type, and you will see a bar
Type.
chart type over here, right? You could do anything else, but it obviously make meaningful if you have a bar. Okay, and then you just say okay,
Okay.
yeah? And you get it like this. So this is better visual appearance when you have a labels which are long. When you have a long label, then this is much you could do it. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay. One question I would generally expect, rather I get many times, is that here if you see numbers, the table rather, you see California top because it's the topmost, and New York. This is sorted like this. But when you see it here in bar chart, so we have descending order, right? When we did a column chart, we had California first and then Pennsylvania last. Okay. But here when we are doing it in the bar chart, you see California going down. Okay, and Pennsylvania is coming up. Okay. Uh, so some people just don't like this. They want it, California at top because it's the largest, and then go. So by default, Excel will give it this way. Okay. But if you don't like it for whatever reason, you can always change it. To change it, click here inside and right click. No, so you need to click on this here, right click and say format data series. Oops. No, not that way. Sorry. Just give me an option to. Sorry, it's format axis. So be careful while selecting. You click on the axis. Click on the axis and then right click, and you should get a format axis. If you click somewhere else, it will change. So it could be format plot area, format chart area, sort of it. You should get format axis, and there is a one small option called categories in reverse order. So you can click on that, and this will change like this. Okay, so by default it is not selected, so you get like this. If you click on that, you will get like this. Yeah. So just try it out. Be sure that you click on the axis and right click on the format axis. Sometimes it's become a little confusing, so I'm repeating this. You click on the axis and then right click and say format axis, and then only you get this option called categories in reverse order. Could you do it? Does anyone of you want me to repeat this? How did I get this categories in reverse order? Okay, is this clear to everyone? Any questions so far? Okay, so if you've done it so far, do a chart to find out the top 5 products. So there is a, in the data, you have product names, right? not product ID, but product name, right? So you have product name. So we want to know top 5 products. Okay. So put a chart creating top 5 products by sales. So every one of you, please create that and then share your screen once you are done. So please go ahead and create a chart which shows top 5 products. So this is top 5 states. Similarly, you should be able to create top 5 products. Top 5 products, yes. This top 5 states. Obviously, when you say top 5 products, in terms of sales, essentially. So let me stop sharing. So whoever does it can quickly share the screen and show how does top 5 products would look like. Okay, Vatsal, great. We're seeing your screen. Okay, good. Do you see a column chart as a good way, or should you want to use bar chart? So you can just, yeah, while you're sharing the screen, I mean, you can change it.
Sorry, I can't remember how we did bar chart again.
Yes, no issue. So click on this pivot chart analyze. Click on next
Yeah.
to that is the design, and it's a, yeah, there's next to that design. Yes, go to the design tab,
Good design. Yes, yes. Yeah. Mhm.
and there's a change chart type on the right. You can go
Yes.
second one. Yeah, click on that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Here
Yeah,
it makes
the
you, yeah.
products are better stated here.
Yes. There are 2 long names.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Great. Anyone else?
Can I present?
Yes, please.
Is it visible now?
Yes. Very good. So, okay.
Thank
So your arrange it also very well. Very good. Great. We'll see a couple of more before we moving on. So anybody was not done shown before, maybe want to share the screen. Okay, perfect. So Samruddhi, do you want to kind of change the sequence? I mean, instead of, did you change it yourself? I mean, do you change it, right? In the sense, the category order? Did you make it with reverse order? Okay, good. Anyone else would like to share?
Should I share?
Yes, please.
So this is how it.
Yeah, it's just coming in. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Very good. Yes. Okay. So let me just quickly share my screen now again and show it, doing it here, so that in case someone has challenge, you could watch now. So again, I'm going to data, insert. This time, let me just insert pivot chart, not pivot chart and pivot table. Just let me insert pivot chart and click on that. So I'm inserting pivot chart. That anyway, the pivot table is kind of seen. And then I would go ahead and put product name and sales. Okay. And on the right hand side, I will say this. And again, this will obviously not make much sense. So we have to do filtering. Okay, and we'll change the chart type to make it bar. I may want to hide the legend because it is not adding much value. So I get more space. And the names are properly done there. Okay, so it shows a filter. So you can see a filter icon coming over here. Okay, and this is how we could get it. Okay, anybody is facing any difficulty in getting this? Is everybody fine with this or any difficulty? So let me also change.
How can you sort it with the sales amount?
I have not sorted it actually, right? Yeah, so let me do that also. More sort options. And I'm doing it descending some offsets. Now it is sorted properly. And if you want to make this as a top, I can click on here on the axis, right click, format axis. So let me click again. Sometimes this becomes a little challenging to get a right format axis. And then you just say categories in reverse order. Okay, so this is how we kind of got it. Okay, so these are like a top 5 products essentially. So this is much better than what we saw earlier, right? Like these are basically answering all our questions, like which are the top categories, which are the top 5 products, or which are the top category, and so on and so forth. So this is the top 5 products that we have got so far. Now, obviously, when you have data like this, you want to ask some more questions. Like this is top 5 products overall, but what are the top 5 products in the California? That kind of a question that we may have. right? Or which is the top 5 product in a particular category, like technology, which is the top 5 products in technology category, right? So these kind of questions would be there, and we want to know those answers to these questions. Or now we can always do a pivot table, and we can do that. I mean, we saw that earlier that we could have a pivot table. So for example, when we went back and looked at this pivot table, we could see, some numbers and kind of figure out something like how, let us say California. We looked at, in California, this is the topmost. What is the revenue in say furniture, and what is the revenue in say office supply? What is the revenue in say technology, and those kind of things. You could see that using table. But if you want to see that using say visualization, then we have one way. So obviously we'll do a little different question. We're asking a question, which are the top 5 products in California. Let us say that's a question that we have. Okay. So the way to do is basically this is overall data. We want to filter the data for California. So we want to have a filter over here, right? So a visual way of doing this filter is what is called as a slicer. Okay. So if you look at this ribbon, there's the analyze tab over here. It's also called pivot chart analyze. And there you will see a menu called insert slicer. Okay. And it says use a slicer to filter data visually. Okay, so it's available to filter data visually. So how does it work? So let me click on this. So please remember, you click on the chart, you will see a pivot chart analyze tab. In that there is a icon, there is a menu called insert slicer. So I'll use this insert slicer, and I get all the fields in this slicer. So I'll just right now start with state. I say state, and I say okay. Now this is the visual element. I get it here. And as the question was which are the top 5 products in California, I click on this California, and now I can see that I see only the top 5 products in California. Okay, this is filtered. Okay, this is only for California. If I want to see it in say New York, just to go down, New York, this is only, these are top 5 products in New York. So this will change. This will change. Obviously, the values will change. Even the sequence or the the actual products would change depending on the sales value, right? So now you can kind of go about and find multiple things. Now there are 2 icons over here. One is called multi-select. So when I select New York, California went off, right? So when I select California, then only California is selected. If I select Connecticut, then only Connecticut got selected. But if I want both the states, then I can have this multi-select, and then I can select California and Connecticut, right? So this is 2 states together, and California, Connecticut, and Colorado. I can see 3 states, and so on. Okay. If I uncheck this or unselect this multi-select thing, then it will only do one at a time. Okay. There's another icon called clear filter that will clear the filter. So all these will get selected, and then I can use a particular state and see what is the top 5 products in that. Right. So this is what we call the slicer. So I want you to insert a slicer for state, and then just quickly do this. Just try to see how it looks like. And maybe you can also add one more slicer if you want. You can add that, you can try out, but at least add a slicer for state and look at it and see how does it work. So just take the next 2-3 minutes to explore slicer. Please let me know if you're facing difficulty in getting the slicer. Yes, Vatsal. Raise your hand.
So yeah, when
Yeah.
you come like when you plot multiple states like that, I was curious, like suppose there's a product that's like very high in say California, but there's another product that's maybe on the sixth number, but it's like if you compare all the 3 states together, it's like they're in all the 3 states, but it's also high. Like how does it prioritize? Is it going to go with the highest numbers product, or will it go with like the highest number for all three states?
So this is going with the sum of sales essentially. So
Okay.
looking at Arizona, then it is taking all the products, sum of sales, and then it is showing us this Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini is the highest generated maximum revenue, total,
Okay.
not maximum, total revenue in Arizona state.
Okay. So it
And then,
doesn't have to overlap.
no, it will not. It just adds it up totally. So it's a total revenue generated by say Samsung Galaxy S4 Mini in Arizona state. So if it, so for all three states, it will does the calculation. So it's aggregation basically. It's adding up all the sales values and then
Okay.
sorting it accordingly.
Okay.
Can you repeat? How did you get the slicer?
Slicer. Okay. So you can click on this chart. That is very important to click on the chart. Well, let me just delete it. Deleting is very easy. Just select and press delete and it will go off. So it's just a visual element. So I click on the chart. That is very important. Clicking on the chart. And then in analyze, there's something called the insert slicer. You click on that and you get a list of it. So last time I selected state. This time I may select city. Actually, I can select both state and city. And I say OK. And I do get both the options. Okay, actually I had that filter, so it remember that filter. So let me remove the filter and I get both the options over here. State and this. So you can get as many. It's not necessary you have to do one at a time. You can do as many as you want. Now, interestingly, when you get state and city, there's some link, obviously, right? Because if you look at the data, and obviously, if you know that a particular city is in a particular state, so if you look at uh, any state, say California, it will have Los Angeles, you know, and other cities in that, right? So when you do it here, let us say you go to Arizona, it will show the cities in that state as highlighted ones and the others in grade because they are not applicable, right? Similarly, if you're looking at say Alabama, then you will see only those cities in that state. I mean, it will highlight. You can select, but that is not meaningful, right? So it will also kind of gives you this effect, cascading effect, so to say. You can see a particular state, and in that you can see which are the relevant cities out there, right? So you could do all of that. So you can try this out also. Just select a state and check out what are the cities that you're getting. That is because the data has like that kind of relation, which is also obvious relation. So this is what you could get.
So when you selected like multiple this, it is addition, not that individual, right? No?
Yeah, it's an addition. So if I
Okay.
select Arizona and Arkansas, things, yeah. And here also I will see cities from these two states only highlighted. I mean,
Okay.
others are grayed out basically. Okay. Now, since we're talking about a dashboard kind of a thing, you know, this is a visual, so we may need to arrange it properly. Okay. So to arrange it properly, so whenever I click on a slicer, I get a new tab called slicer tools options or slicer options. Depending on the version of Excel that you're using, you may see different name nomenclature, but basically you get the slicer options sort of it. Okay, where you can select a different style. So it may not be the same style, it could be different. You can bring forward, bring backward, those kind of things. And interestingly, you can also do columns. You can make a 2-column thing. Okay. So this is, you can also make it maybe 2-column or 3-column sort of it. Right? So typically you may want to arrange it like this. This is just one way to do it. I'm saying only way. And then you can arrange this down there. Okay, so you can look at Alabama, you'll see this. So it's just that you got to arrange things a little better. by arranging columns and those kind of things. Why this would be important? Because when you are creating a dashboard, we need just to have a small setup, right? I mean, small space is there with us. So we want to kind of arrange things properly. So we have a chart, then we have state and city. So this basically a kind of a mini dashboard or a dashboard also for the matter, where you can see top 5 products. So we need to give a good title here. So I'll just say top 5 products. The top 5 products, and then have a state and city, and then you can interactively look at it. So you can look at Arizona, how it is, and in a particular city you can see how it is, and so on, right? So you have a chart here, and you have a uh, the slicers over here. So this is how you can organize it a little bit. Is this clear? I mean, anybody wants me to repeat something?
Yeah, actually, I wasn't able to link the state and city coming, like for all the cities are showing up for me. So can you show that again?
Do you want to share your screen, and we will
Yeah.
kind of look at your screen?
Okay. So do you see my screen?
Yeah, it's shown now, right?
So I just deleted the city part because it was not making sense. So we can start from the state part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to add city, we're just doing insert slicer and
Yes.
city,
Yes.
and then select. That's it, right?
Yeah, because we already got state selected.
Yes. Now for change. Okay, now it's working. I guess I must have made some issue, but yeah, now it's fine. And how do you do that multiple window panel
Multiple
as well?
column. Yeah, so there is a columns option there in the ribbon. So in the ribbon you can see columns. Yeah,
Yeah.
that you
Oh,
can
I
change it to 2
okay.
or 3. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else is facing an issue? Please share your screen and we can solve it for you. Please raise your hand if you're facing any difficulty. If you're not getting what I have got on my screen, please raise your hand. Okay. So far what we have seen is pivot chart. We have seen slicer. Okay. Now, when you're here and if you're kind of browsing through, you could also see that insert tab also, there's something called a slicer over there. And I have been telling you that don't go to analyze and then select the chart first, then click on analyze and then say insert slicer. I'll tell you why, but just ensure that you don't select slicer from insert tab. I'll tell you why a little later after the break. But in case you are clicked on this, then you'll get some window like this. You will wonder what it is. So I'll talk about it later. So for the time being, and generally, whenever you're using pivot chart and slicer, always click on the chart first, go to pivot chart analyze, and there here you say insert slicer, and that is how you would get it. Okay. Okay. So next to insert slicer is the insert timeline also. Okay. So let us do that. So before inserting, I'll just read out and say use a timeline to filter dates interactively. Okay, so it's faster to select the dates. So let me just click on it. So again, I have selected the chart, analyze, insert timeline, and it shows me two fields only: order date and ship date. Okay, so because there are only two fields which are a date type, so it picks up like order date and ship date. If for whatever reason your data is not formatted properly, if your data doesn't have that date type, then you may not see this. You actually get an error message saying that there is no field with date type. Okay, that is because the data is not properly done. But if your data in your train thing, so let me just show it in the data itself. If your data here is formatted as a date, then it will work. Right, so here you can see date here, right? Here ship date also you see date in the here. I hope you can see my cursor also along with. So there's a date here. For other it is general, but only for a date it is date properly given. So in that case it works well. Okay, otherwise it will give an error message. So let me just go ahead and insert timeline, and let me only take order date and say okay. Okay, and I see this timeline over here. And when you selected this, you'll also see there are multiple options possible. So you can change the color if you want to. Okay, there are few things that we should know. Let me just expand it a little bit, uh, make it a little different. Okay, okay, and now here you can see it shows all periods, order date, all periods, and it shows 2018. So there's a scroll bar over here, so you can actually scroll it. Okay, and that is real big timeline. So earlier when we started, we saw that the range is from 2015 to 2019. So you see all those monthly, which is there. That is because there is a drop down here which says months, which I can change to days and quarters and years. We'll do it quarters. So quarter it will show again. So this time you don't need a scroll bar. So you say 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. So 4 years essentially. For ship date is a 2015, 19 also, but for order there are only 4 years. Now there are quarter one, quarter two. So you can click on quarter one. So now you see that the top 5 products, and let me clear these filters. Okay, the top 5 products in quarter one of 2015. Then the top product is Cisco Telepresence System. Okay. You can click on any other quarter. So quarter by quarter, you can actually see it. Okay. Uh, to the best of my knowledge, you can't select two quarters at a time. I mean, I tried doing it multiple times. It doesn't work. But you could do it in sequence. Like for example, you want to see first 2 quarters. Then you can show you that. Or you want to say first uh, 6 quarters, maybe. Then you can see this, right? So this is how you could see quarter by quarter. You can also do it for years. So you can do 15, 16, 17. And again, you can do 2015 top 5 products, 2016 top 5 products, 2018 top 5 products, or 2017, 18 top 5 products, and so on. You could do all that sort of it. Okay. This looks a little big element because it has so much less. So what I will do is I'll do quarters, and then there is a in the ribbon you see there's a show. So you can hide maybe scroll bar, you can hide time level, so you will not allow users to do it. Obviously users can always do it. Selection label and header, so you could only have this. So you could just have this kind of a thing, a slim timeline also, or you could show all the elements like header, selection label, scroll bar, time level, and so on, right? So this is how you could have a simple timeline setup. So you have one chart, 2 slices, and one timeline right now. Yeah. So I wanted to do it on your Excel also.
Excuse me, sir. Can you retell us like how to put this format this what you say timeline? How to format it?
Yes, I will do that. So let me just delete it right now. Okay. Select the chart. Very important. Select chart. Analyze in the ribbon. Go to that option and say insert timeline. Now I'll select order date, or let me select ship date this time. I say OK, and I get this here, right? Now I see these options. The options are primarily important options are the styles. You could select a style. You could change it. There are more styles. I mean, not only this, there are many more styles. So you can pick up the styles that you want. And then there are basically 4 elements that you may want to show or hide. One is header, which is what you see ship date. I can hide that. Then I can hide the scroll bar if you want. Okay. Then selection label, which is basically what is selected that it shows if you don't want to show that. And the time level. The time level is very important because time level will be able to give us more granularity. So right now it is a month. So you could see that you can actually scroll it. It's a long range. So you need a scroll bar for months. But if you do like quarters, then you have some less number of quarters. So you could, yeah, you could use it like this, or you can use years. So that's the granularity that you want to look at, and you can change this as you want, right? And you can hide all of this just to make it slimmer, to make it small. You may hide all of it and just show uh, the actual timeline. So you may hide everything else, and then this is like a small one which you can show. Yeah. So this is how you could do it. Yeah. Did it help? I mean, could you do it now?
Yeah. Now it's possible to do. Yeah, I got it. So, thank you.
Okay. Jagdish,
Not
you are.
only,
Yeah,
yeah,
yes,
it is
Jagdish.
saying your date is not formatted. Something I have missed.
Uh,
It is,
no, I think that's a problem. Okay. What I'll do, I'll
okay.
stop sharing and you can share your screen. Uh, you can share your screen. We'll try to
Yeah,
resolve, but
I'll do it. I'll do it. Just a minute. Give me. Are you able to see my screen?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Just click on the ship date anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
okay, your data is formatted as general.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So that you meant to change to date, the entire column. Maybe you can do it that way.
Okay. But when I click on this, it is saying that date only. That's why I got confused.
Okay, it is showing date only, no? But then,
Yeah. Okay. Let me
yeah.
do it once when you are there. Okay. I selected this. Then you vote on it.
No, we can't create a timer with this. It does not. Okay. Just click on the pivot chart and right click on it. Right click on the pivot chart. There is a refresh button there. You can just check whether you can right click and
Okay. I'll do it.
refresh button over here.
Yeah. Refresh data is there. I did it.
Just
I think once again I'll reformat it. I think when I
Okay. So sometimes it goes away. If you do it,
okay, okay.
couple of cases I found it doesn't go away for whatever reason because it will
I'll try.
challenge.
I'll try. So the problem is the data format only. I'll
Yes,
take.
yes. So
Okay.
it's about data format. So if the date it is not formatted as a date, then it doesn't work.
I'll do that.
Okay, so it's almost 11:30. I think we need a break, right? Is there anybody who doesn't want a break?
No, we can continue. It's not an issue unless others feel so. I'm okay with it.
Hello. Yeah. Sorry, I was talking.
Because the call, you are the one who was speaking continuously. I think benefit of you should take a break, 5 minutes.
Yes. So let us take 5 minutes break. After break, we will continue with same thing. I mean, now we'll get into dashboard thing. So we understood the basic features. Now we'll
Okay.
talk more about dashboard. Yeah. So let us take 5 minutes break. Come back by 11:35 or so.
Yes. Sure. Sure.
Okay. Okay, so is everybody back by now? So can we have a show of hands to indicate that you are back? Okay, so I see Atul here. So Vasanthi, I'm counting you and Uma both raising your hand. Yeah, so if you are there, please raise your hand. This 7 have raised so far out of 12. 8. Just trying to see who is not there. Okay, so far so good. I mean, any questions so far? Any questions, comments before we proceed again?
No questions as of now.
Okay, okay. So let us proceed now. Now let me not just start with Excel. Let me show some PowerPoint slides just to discuss some theory. So what we did since the workshop, we actually got into Excel and started doing things. But I thought I will do some theory. I didn't want to start with theory because it may start boring. So now I guess everybody's warmed up with doing things. But I think there are some few concepts better explained with slides. So let me share my slides and we'll discuss it maybe for next 10-15 minutes. So do you see my slides?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the slideshow completely? Full screen?
No, it's not full screen. You need to tap onto it. We are seeing all the slides.
Okay. Then I need to.
Yeah, now it's good.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. So I'll not play the YouTube video because I'll send the link to you and you can watch it. It actually shows how visualization is really helpful. Okay. So I'll skip this, but I'll send this link. Just remind me. I'll send this link to you. Very interesting link. So we have been saying charts and dashboards because it is more visual, right? Instead of looking at numbers, and we also got some glimpse of it when we tried to see which is the top category in sales. By looking at numbers, you can always find it out. But chart is more meaningful. The visual, you kind of get a very quick look at it and say, okay, this is how the numbers are kind of laid out. So it's a visual element. Visual impact is much better with that, right? So whenever we're putting these charts, when you're putting a dashboard also, the question is typically asked that which chart to use. Okay. And I know if you have worked with Excel before and you have worked with charts before, there are many types of charts. Okay. And obviously you'll use different types of chart. It also looks a little great. However, there's a little counterintuitive advice that I'll give you, something which we're not very straightforward. But the idea is that when you use chart, though there are dozens or more than dozen charts, chart types available, we recommend only 3 charts. Okay. Or rather, if you talk to someone, people will actually recommend only 2 charts, not 3 also. Now that looks a little unfair. There are so many chart types, and but you are only recommending two or three. But when you're presenting it to people, generally, to a wider audience, typically, then it's actually better idea to show only two, three charts, because these are the charts which people understand very quickly, and they are also quickly understood in a way, instead of showing bigger, different types of charts. So the way it goes, the selection choice goes like this: that you will use a pie chart where you want to show a distribution of something. So if you have expenses and you want to show how these expenses are distributed in say 5 categories, then you want to do it distribution. Or even we looked at category wise sales, then you can use distribution for that. So it's basically a distribution. So use pie chart for that. So that's one chart. And I'm sure you have seen it before many times, so you know what it means. And that's what the whole idea is, that you should show a chart which everybody understands. If you want to show something against time, okay, any data, sales data, profit data, any data that you want to show against time, you should always use a line chart. Okay, so it's basically a trend that you want to show, right? And always put time on the x-axis. That's very important. So you put the chart and always put time on the x-axis, and your value should be on the y-axis. There could be multiple types of data, multiple series that you could have, but they should be on the y-axis, and the time is on x-axis, and that is how you could do it. If you're really not sure what to do, then use a column chart or a bar chart. So in Excel, there are two different types called column chart, which is what you see in the right hand side, and the ones which are horizontal are called bar chart. But if you look at say Python or R, they call both as a bar chart. So horizontal bar and vertical bar. Only in Excel, the terminology is that vertical bar is called column chart. So this is column chart. So this is default. Okay, that's all. I mean, if you're looking at the chart types, there are only three chart types that you could look at. Obviously, there could be reasons why you want to use something additional, but this is a general guidance. I would say 99.99% of the time, you could use this logic to select your chart type. Okay. Now a question. I got this data. Women make up 42% of LinkedIn's workforce, 30% at Google, and 33% at Facebook. Okay. Which chart type will you use? I want you to answer it in the chat window. Don't say it. Just put it in the chat window, your answer. The options are uh, column chart, a bar chart, and line chart. The three options. And you may choose other, I mean, that too, right? But try to put your answers in the chat window. So everyone, please put your answer in the chat window. So far we got two answers. Yeah, only three were responded, other four, I guess. Vasanthi and Umar are the same place. So yeah, Atul has responded. Okay, Vidya also responds. Samruddhi. What about the others? I mean, everybody should think about it. There are only three options: bar chart, pie chart, and actually by now we have got only two. Also, okay, bar chart or column chart, either way. And then line chart also is third option. But I'm seeing only two options being selected: bar or column and pie chart. So okay, Lavanya, would you like to unmute and tell why pie chart? What is the reason for pie chart?
Because of the distribution.
Because of the distribution. Okay. Vidya, would you like to tell why you said bar chart?
Because bar chart is commonly used, I feel that. Very much commonly used everywhere.
Yeah, it's very much commonly used. Okay. Samruddhi, what is your reason for using bar chart or mentioning bar chart? Multiple social is what she said. Okay. Shital? What is your reasoning behind using bar chart? Okay, I think she was disconnected. Satish, why you selected column chart or bar chart?
Comparison Google and Facebook, and then you can have LinkedIn as another contrast.
Okay, okay. Okay, so let me just go back and let us see. So it's very common. I mean, here we see a kind of a, some people think bar chart, some people think pie chart. Most of the time I get pie chart as the option. And this is what people think of, right, when you do it. Now we just see that women make up 42% and those kind of a thing. And the reason you see pie chart, because moment you see percentage, you kind of figure out that, you know, this is a pie chart, because all the time we look at a pie chart, we see percentage over there. Okay. Now one may do an observation that, okay, we are looking at percentage, but these don't total up at 100%. Okay. So maybe that's not a right choice. That is one observation that I've seen. But if you, that is also a good observation, but if you really see, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Yeah. So, so it may looks like, you know, pie chart is an option, but one observation is that obviously, you know, it's not totaling as 100%. That's one clue maybe, but it could happen. It could actually have total as 100%. But the reason you should not select pie chart, because it is not a distribution, as in we're not talking about all women and, you know, part of those number of women are working at LinkedIn. What we are basically saying is that women make up 42% of LinkedIn workforce, which means the other 50% are male, right, or men. Facebook, when you say 33% at Facebook, that means others are men, and for Google it is 32 and 70%. Okay, so though when you look at the statement, it looks like it's a pie chart candidate. Okay, and obviously this is made up statement in such a way to give you that confusion. But only because there's a percentage doesn't mean it's a pie chart. And this is by the way stacked chart, a stacked bar chart. So you need to be a little careful when selecting a chart type, because sometimes you may get tempted that to use a pie chart when it is not required to be used pie chart. So while I was talking about this slides, earlier slide, when you said that, you know, there are only 3 chart types that should be recommended, I also mentioned that some recommend only 2, not even 3. Some recommend only 2. So the 2 are line chart and bar chart. Okay, so they say don't use pie chart, and there is also kind of a theory behind it which says pie chart is actually a little more confusing than what it looks like. Rather, you can little mislead also people with a pie chart. So you should only use 2, 99% of time. That is what the thing is. Though I see a point that sometimes pie chart is definitely useful. But this is a clear example where you see that, you know, it is not really correct to use a pie chart. Okay, so using a appropriate chart type is also important. So when you make a dashboard or when you actually looking at visualization, you have to be also careful about a chart type, otherwise it will mislead the people. Is this clear? I mean, those who said pie chart, are they convinced now that it should not be a pie chart?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So again, we talked about this column chart. So sometimes you may use a column chart if there are time periods. So we say there is a trend that you want to show, and this could be actually a line chart. This could show a better trend, but you may choose to use a column chart if If there are only 4 periods, you may use it. If there are long labels, that we have already seen, if there are long labels, then horizontal bar chart is something that makes more sense, right? Instead of a column chart. So that's another kind of guidelines which are there. Okay. Uh, now do you see a chart over here, right? What is the, do you see any problem with these charts? I mean, let me ask this question. Do you see a problem with this chart? What kind of problem do you see with the chart? Is there any problem with this chart? You can put your answer in the chat window, or you can unmute yourself and speak up. Is there any problem with the chart? If it is yes, then what's wrong? Y-axis is not equally distributed. That's one observation. Yes, that's correct. Anything else? Anything visually that you see a challenge? Very cluttered. Okay. That's also good observation. Too many colors. Okay. That's also excellent observation. Hard to read black font inside purple column. Excellent. Yeah, that's also a very good observation. Yes. So though it's a good chart, I mean, generally when we create a chart, we do create good charts. So Shitra is saying can't see visually different when it's have same type of values like 203, 207, 205. But they are not very clearly seen because there's not enough contrast that is there, right? So generally we make charts, but always may not observe it so much. But when you're making a chart, you should always see through it and see whether it is clear enough. Okay. So maybe we may use some data labels, but then we should see whether they are kind of clear or not, right? So one is definitely this is contrast is something which is an issue. So maybe we can improve that with this. So now I guess the contrast is taken care. So now you can use the data labels very clearly, right? But it still has some problems, like what already Vasanthi mentioned, like too many colors, right? But anything more than that, I mean, what's the problem with colors? I mean, colors looks good, right? I mean, typically we want colorful charts, right? So
Colors are good, but it also has to have some significance towards it. No, I mean, too many varying colors are there. Like the readability is improved in this new chart, but generally when we use colors, also we want to signify something through the colors. That's what the whole objective is when we use colors also. So that
yes.
is not kind of coming out in this chart. That's what I understand.
Okay, very good. Someone also said you don't understand the data immediately because this colors. So color, I mean, there are different ways to look at it. Some people find it colorful to show something colorful is very good kind of a thing. But the challenge is that color is also used to denote something, right? Particularly the colors like RGB. Oh, sorry, not RGB. RAG. I mean, the red, amber, or red, yellow, and green. These colors have some meaning in a sense, right? So whenever you see red color, you may actually indicate that there's some problem there, right? So we always have the like a traffic signal color. Red means stop, green means go, yellow means kind of slow down, or red is something danger, green is prosperity, right? Yellow is something which is caution. So there are some meanings attached to it, right? Now if you really mean it, then it's a different story. But if you don't mean it, then it is actually you wonder why this 2015 data is in red. Is there some problem there? Or why 2012 is in green? Is there something problem there? Incidentally, the data is selected this way. But if you would have put 184, I mean 2012 data in red, then you might have thought that there could some problem here which want to be highlighted or something like that, right? So since the choice of color is very random here, it is not very so much confusing, but it could become confusing. People may say, okay, there's some significance of these colors because each color means something. When you use red, yellow, and green or blue, this kind of colors, they mean something, right? So if that is the meaning, it's not what you are looking at, then you should avoid using colors, right? So ideally speaking, and this is one way of thinking or one school of thought, as we say, is that use minimal elements in the chart. So when you use Excel kind of a tool, it has many features. It has styles and many labels and all that. Use minimal things. So minimal is better. And this is how it will kind of showing us. So it just shows the years. It shows all bars in one color because there is no meaning attached to this. You just want shows the number. And the moment we show the numbers, we don't need a y-axis. I mean, why do we need y-axis actually? Because we're just looking at numbers, right? So if you put the numbers on top of the bar, that's good enough. You don't need y-axis. You don't need grid lines, right? You can simply do it. Okay. So less is more is what we will like to tell, right? So we don't want to have too much of a clutter. Try to minimize the clutter. Try to only focus on what we want to say. Okay. So when you're creating a dashboard, this is something that we should keep in mind. I don't really want to make it like too much colorful. Try to make it as simple as possible. Is this clear? Any questions so far? Okay. So I will take you through some small process of what is called a data dump to storytelling. Because when you're creating a dashboard, we're kind of telling a story. It's an interactive dashboard, so people can see it. But we want to tell a story. So any charts that you make, typically, we will want to create a chart in such a way that it is meaningful. Essentially, it's kind of tells the story. So we say storytelling, it tells the story. So these are small steps, 4 steps essentially, and they all start with a D just to make it memorable, so to say. So distill your key insight, display the data using the best visualization type to showcase your insights. So best chart type basically. Declutter and remove any distracting or unnecessary components from your visualization, and direct your audience attention to the most critical components of your visualization. Okay. So it's a 4D kind of a method. Okay. Now I don't want to memorize it. What I want like to show you is a example of it, just to know what does it really mean. So how can you move from data dump to storytelling? So what happens is that when we get data, we create charts, but it is not as simple as just creating charts. We need to think about telling a story from it, right? So this is a data, or rather this is a chart which is made. So it basically shows global web browser market share. So there are 5, rather 4, and there are other: Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Microsoft. This is a stacked bar chart. So it's capped to 100% and shows the percentage of it. And it could show that Chrome is kind of growing, right? Safari is also growing a little bit. Firefox was higher market share earlier. That's a browser which is not so much used. I mean, some people like me still use it, but there are very few people who use it. People use more of Chrome, right? And Microsoft is kind of going down in a way, right? So this is what the data we have got, and this is our chart. Okay, so many times we say we want to put a chart, so somebody may put a chart. Okay, and as you can see, we can read the chart. It tells us something about it. Okay, so we know Chrome is growing and so on and so forth. So it is not that is usage chart. It is really not good, but it is a good enough chart. I mean, it kind of tells you something about it, tells a story, something about it, right? But if I just give it to you without telling you something about it, then you may find it difficult, but you will figure it out somehow, right? But we don't want that. We want audience to know what exactly we want to tell. Okay, so we want to modify it. How will you modify it? So we want to give some insight that we have, right? So here we say Chrome crushes the competition. Now you could have simply said that Chrome's market share is growing. Okay, that would have been a much better way to say it. That is what the fact is. That Chrome is market share is increasing. That is how you could put it. But typically, when you put a chart title, you may want to put a chart title which is more dramatic so that it gets attention, right? So it is played out. It's played on the word also. So Chrome crushes the competition. That is how you have put it, right? So that's one. That's the insight that we want to focus on. So that's a title that we are given. So title is one. Then we change the right type. So we mentioned earlier, right? Whenever you have data against time, use a line chart. Okay. So we use a correct chart type, a visualization type, so to say, right? So we use a line chart, which is a trend and which is actually much better. You can see that Chrome actually growing, right? And you can see some Firefox is kind of declining market share and so on. So this is actually a better visualization than with a column chart. So the column chart is very commonly used. We're using a trend. We are showing a trend. So line chart is a better option over here. So that is what we see over here. Okay. Now what we will do is that we'll actually change it even the legend and so on. So we have this. So instead of having a legend over here, you may do it over here. And then you may want to only highlight. So we talked about colors, right? And we said color is something that we want to use to indicate something. This is a good use of color, right? We are showing a progress. So we are using a green color that's prominently, and we are using it across. And please note, even in the title, we use Chrome as a green, right? And we use gray color for all other lines. And this is where you could use color to kind of emphasize that we are talking about Chrome here. You can't miss it now, right? To see it, you know what it is talking about, right? You see the earlier chart, you have to kind of figure it out what is there. You see this chart, it kind of tells you what exactly needs to be seen, right? So this is the power of visualization. So whenever you're using a dashboard, just don't think that you are to putting some charts over there. Think about each chart and see what that chart, how can you make that chart more meaningful, you know? Think about that, and this is how the process that you could follow. Is this clear? Any questions on this so far? Okay. So then the next thing is that since we are doing a dashboard, this may not be so relevant for the topic, but I just thought I'll share with you that you might be aware of this also, that when you are using Excel and you put some charts in Excel, you may want to take it to PowerPoint. Okay. So since they come from the same product family, Microsoft Office, it's very easy to copy paste. So if you have a data which you copy and put it in PowerPoint, it goes to the table. So you could actually work with the table in PowerPoint. You could copy paste. Generally, we do Control C, Control V. But there are multiple options that you could have. One of the option is to paste as a picture. So if you have something which is kind of final thing, then you could put it as a picture over there. There are also two methods called linking. So you can make a link so that your chart is seen in the PowerPoint, but the data is not copied. So data is in Excel. So anytime somebody opens a PowerPoint, it requires a linking to the Excel, right? So that is helpful because then your data, let us say we have 2 MB data and you create a PowerPoint, then that data is not gone there. So your PowerPoint remains like a small file. You can use that. But if you're sending a file by email, then you may want to embed the chart in which the data also goes inside the PowerPoint, and you can edit it in PowerPoint. Okay, and then you can send that file, but file will obviously become bigger. Okay, so you can try this out later. I mean, so these are the typical ways. I mean, we'll not get into that right now, but please remember when you copy paste from chart to from Excel to PowerPoint, there are options which are available, which you could do, and then you could actually do this paste special basically, and then either you can paste as a picture or with linking or with embedding. Okay, embedding I think is by default, but that increases the size of the file. So some cases you may not want that. So you may want to use linking or copying as a pasting as a picture. Right? Okay, so let me just keep this. Okay, but I will come to dashboards. How does dashboard look like? Okay. So this is the simplest possible dashboard, not with pivot chart, but with a simple chart. So we all familiar with charts, right? So it's very simplistically you can create a dashboard. So this is Excel. However, again, there could be some discipline that we can follow where we're creating a dashboard. So typically what we do is that you will have different worksheets. So we'll have one worksheet called data. Then you may have some intermediate work. So you may create another worksheet called chart data. If you want to change something for doing charts. And then you have a dashboard as a third worksheet. And so when you prepare this file and send it to someone else, they know that they should open a dashboard. And that's a worksheet. So separate worksheets that you can create. And this is a very simplistic one that you could have. You could make it a little bigger also. So when you say dashboard, it then not be only charts. You could also put a table. Sometimes table will also make sense. So you could put a table. You could put uh, some bar chart and some pie chart. I mean, the couple of charts and the table. That's also a good example of it. Uh, you could put some numbers also if you want to do it like a dashboard like this. You could also have multiple charts and a table as what we can see over here. You could have as complicated chart as possible. We will not be covering this obviously in our workshop, but I have seen, and I'm sure some of you might have also seen, that people make a very complicated looking dashboard, but they are very powerful. We have very interactive. You can have buttons, radio buttons, and so on and so forth. And this is like the ultimate ones which you could have. uh, you know you could have some charts which are not there in the Excel by default, but you could make one using what you have. So this is like a this kind of a thing, speedometer kind of a thing. Not really available directly out of box, but you could create using Dennard chart. So you could do this kind of a thing. So generally we recommend not to use complex chart, but you can make some exceptions like this if you want to, and create a chart which looks little more attractive, so to say, right? And as what we have seen here, it could actually use slicers and you know timeline and this kind of a thing, and create as many things. So we have multiple charts and multiple slicers and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is how. So now we'll get into creating a dashboard. So far we have learned pivot chart and slicers and timeline. So I'll try to use those things and create a dashboard with this. Okay, but before that, let me just check with you any questions, comments on whatever we discussed so far. Some theory of visualization. Uh, was it useful? Did you have any questions on that before we get into Excel? Okay, so if there are no questions, let us go ahead and get into Excel again. So let me just share my screen. And let us open the Excel now and now start getting into creating a dashboard. So let me just open Excel. Yeah, do you see my screen now?
Yes, yes, you can see it.
Okay, so in a way, what we're seeing here on the screen is a dashboard with have one chart and two slicer and one uh, timeline. But what we'll do is that we'll have more than one chart and a slicers and this thing. So the way we'll go about doing it is, again, you could do it just like that, but there's a specific way we'll show. So I'll create a new worksheet. I'll call this a dashboard. Okay. And you may want to give a different color if you want, just to make it look a little different. because when you're opening it, there are many things that we have. So you may want to change color. Okay, so when you're seeing these Excel, there are multiple sheets over there. So you may want to create a dashboard. Okay, so I have this different color thing. Then I'll go ahead and click on View tab. Okay, I click on the View tab and hide everything: grid lines, headings, formula bar. I'll hide everything. Okay, so I get a plain canvas. Okay, now we all know what the dashboard is. Basically, it's like a one place, single kind of a glance, have it, and then you kind of understand it. So typically, car dashboard is what we give as example, that you just have a glance at it and you know what it is, right? It shows the speed, it shows the RPM, it shows the engine hit and all that, right? So just one glance and you get it. Similarly, we want to have a, so we don't want to really scroll. Okay, so if you put that restriction that we don't want to scroll, then it's a little challenging because you have only this much space, like a real estate essentially, right? Only this much real estate, you need to fit in everything over there. That is where this dragging and resizing windows and all that really is required. So you have to fit it in one window so that you don't have to scroll, right? It's not necessary, but it really helps to have something at one place. Okay, now once we have it, so typically the way you would do it, you will, when you get a data, you always have a, like you have a data here, you always have that data and that's a separate worksheet. Then you create, let us say, two charts. You create two worksheets and you'll have two charts over there. So that's a thing, right? And then we have a third, so we have fourth worksheet, which is dashboard. That is how you could arrange this kind of thing. Now I have got too many worksheets over here. But what I have done, if you have observed, is that wherever I have charts, I have named them, like top 5 states, top 5 products, category-wise sales, and so on. I'll tell you why it was so important to name the worksheet. So one obvious reason is that you could now see I have so many worksheets, but I know that these are all named properly, right? So that is helpful in a way. But there's one more reason why it is useful. So let us go ahead, dashboard. So I'll pick up top 5 products. So I take that. Let me just clear all the filters over here to ensure that there is no filter applied. I'll say Control C from here, go to dashboard, go to the leftmost corner and say Control V. So I got top 5 products over here. And then maybe I'll pick up category-wise sales. Again here, I will hide the legend and the grid lines. Okay, and I should actually say category sales here. Sales. Okay, and I just Control C, go to dashboard, and here I will put Control V. Okay, so I get another thing over here, right? And I want to put a slicers. Okay, so let me put some slicer here. So let me click on top 5 products, go to analyze. Let me put one slicer, say state. Already put state and region. Okay, and say okay. So I got region over here. Now I may want to, you can just watch, I'll give you time to do it yourself. So just do region over here. Then I have a state and I may want to make it a little bigger. And I need to scroll, so I'll make it smaller. And may make as multiple columns. Okay, so this is how I could have it, right? So I can click on central, this changes. So it's interactive. So it's the interactive dashboard. This is what we meant. We can interact with this data now. Right. So this is how we are interacting, right? Right. Is this fine? Any questions? Is it clear? Do you see a problem with this?
No, it's clear. It's clear as of now.
Okay. So now what we are saying is that when we are selecting filtering, it is only for the left top 5 products, right? It is not applicable for categorized cells, because this slicer we added for this chart, right? Now we may think that okay, let us add some slicer for categorized cells also, but then we have like a duplicate slicers and it will be confusing which slicer for what kind of thing. Instead, it is always better to have the same slicer work on both the charts or as many charts which are there in this dashboard, right? So that is what we recommend, that is what we need. Okay, so but obviously how to do that, like, because by default it is only picking up the chart because we have selected a chart and then inserted. That's the reason it is associated, is connected to only one chart, right? So we want it to connect to more than one chart. So click on the slicer, right click, and there's a report connections. So it's basically report is a noun here, not a verb here. So it basically shows all the connections to report. So when I click on it, it actually shows that it is connected to pivot table 6, which is in top 5 products sheet. Okay, so that is a different, right, worksheet. Now you may realize that why I'm naming the sheets, right? So there are multiple sheets that I have, but then I want category wise sales, which is here. So I should select here. Now one option is that I should rename the pivot table also. That's also one way to do it. But that's instead of doing that, I choose to rename the sheets, because anyway, rename the sheets is definitely better than having sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, 4 kind of a thing. And we are following a discipline that we putting one pivot table in one worksheet. Okay. You may try to put in more than one pivot table in one worksheet, but it kind of crashes many times if you do that. There's a little challenge with that. There's overlapping data and those kind of things do happen. So it's always recommended to use one new worksheet for one pivot table, and pivot table and pivot charts go together. So there's one worksheet for one pivot chart, and you should name that worksheet properly. Okay, so that now you could use it this way. So you can connect it to many, but doesn't really make sense. We need only two. So I just click on this and I say okay. And now when I click on this, you could see that it is impacting both. Not very significantly, but yes, it does change both the thing, right? Similarly, you may this you need to do slicer by slicer. So it doesn't happen with all slicers at once. You need to do it for each of the slicers. Okay, so that is how you would get it, right? So now once you click on this, it will change. Yeah? So that is how you would get it, right? Now if you want to do a timeline, the same thing. Now let us select this, analyze, insert timeline, go ahead with order date, say okay, bring it here. Okay, now the challenge that you can see, it only works with this. So let me right click, a report connection exactly same, and there's no difference. This time obviously we have category wise sales selected because that is what we use to insert. So we'll use top 5 products. So click on this. Okay. Now you click on it, both those things will change, right? So now you could have one slicer and or one timeline, and that can connect to multiple charts. Not only two, you can have 2, 3, whichever charts that you have over here, you could change that accordingly. Yeah. Yes, Vatsal, you raised your hand.
No, I think I'm sorry. I think it was just raised since like the break
Oh,
got
okay.
over. Yeah.
Okay. Same with Lavanya. Lavanya, did you raise your hand for questions?
Yes, sir. I had a question that I'm not understanding how to do this report connection.
Okay. What we'll do is that I guess while others are trying, you can share your screen and we'll see it on your screen. So let me stop sharing, and then you can just share your screen. So everybody else, please try it on your screen in your Excel, creating this dashboard with 2 charts, 2 slicer and 1 timeline.
Actually, I'm sharing it with my sister on my computer. The Excel was not working. So she's sharing it.
Okay, no issues.
Yes.
Okay. So can you just right click on the slicer now? It's giving an error. Reference
Yes.
isn't valid. Oh. Yeah, you can just say okay. Okay. Can you try again? Maybe other slicer can try. Oops. Okay. Can you just delete both the slicers and we'll insert a new slicer? You can just press delete on the keyboard while the slicer is selected. Just click delete. Sorry, hit delete button on the keyboard. Or you can right click and there's a remove also. So you could do either way.
We are doing that. It's not happening.
I think the Excel has crashed or something.
I think. Yeah.
Not responding. Yeah. So one of the challenge that we may have is a 2 MB file, and we have now created so many charts and slices and all that. It may slow down a little bit. So that could be a challenge.
Can you just explain the process and we'll just
Yeah.
try to work it on our own?
Sure, sure. I'll do that. Okay. So let me just get it off state. So when you're putting a slicer on a dashboard, you have to select any one of the chart, but you select a chart because that will create a direct link. If you don't, then there's a way to go about doing it also. You can actually create a slicer like this, but it's a cumbersome way of doing it, so we'll not really do it. So we'll click on a chart. We get this pivot chart tools analyze tab. Use that to put a slicer. We may this time put city and say okay. So I'm just arranging it here. This is just to ensure that it looks proper. I mean, I don't need to scroll down and all that. And then I'm just making multi-column. Now, once I select, I right click on it, and there is this particular option called report connections. Again, report is not a verb, it's a noun. So it's basically showing connections to a report. So pivot table is called as a report. I mean, it's the old terminology of Excel. So it is actually called as a report. So that is also showing a connections to pivot table. This is what it really means. So it is a little misleading. People say what is a report connections, but it basically says that all the connections with the pivot table and the pivot chart. Okay. So right now, since we use this top 5 product, so we have copied from there, right? So it is still belongs to that worksheet. Though it is in this worksheet, we copied from that pivot table, the chart. So we see that is already selected. And we want to select the other one. So we just click. So you can do more also, but that doesn't make sense for us because we have only 2 charts on this dashboard. So I just select this 2, and I can select as many as you want, and then I say okay. And that creates a connection between this slicer with these 2 charts. So by default, when I insert a slicer with for a particular chart, there is a report connection which is already available for that chart and the slicer. By right clicking on this and clicking on these report connections, what I'm doing is that I'm creating a multiple connections for
Sir,
the
after you select report connections, we are not able to see the other part.
Okay, when I click on report connections, do you see this window, kind of a dialog box over here?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me share the entire screen. Okay, that may be a reason why it is confusing. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when I right click, I see this dialog box. Do you see this dialog box?
Yes, now it's visible.
Now it is visible, right? So here, when we started, so let me again undo this. Okay. So when I right click over here and I say report connections, it would show only one tick mark for type 5 products, because what I did, I selected that and inserted this particular slicer. So there's a default connection with only one pivot table, right? So report essentially means pivot table actually. So connection with one pivot table. I want to also connect it to this categorized sales wala chart, which is this pivot table. This one, categorized sales, right? So I just click on that and then I say okay. Now it is connected to both the charts. Is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
Same thing with slicer or timeline. It's the same approach. Right click, click on report connections, and then you select. Now here I selected both the things, so that works well. So you could select that. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
How are you getting this report connections? I'm not able to get that.
Report connections, because this particular slicer was only connected to this one chart when we inserted. So a slicer is connected to one pivot table essentially to start with. Now, when you are doing a dashboard, we want it to be connected to multiple charts. So to do that, I'll need to create those many connections. So right now it has created two connections. So it is connected to both the pivot table essentially by ticking those things.
No, I'm not
Does that,
getting that report connections when I right click.
actually you are not getting, okay. What, are you getting any error or something?
No, all other the report. So just tell me, before that, what is the step?
Can you just share your screen? We'll resolve that issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Now you click on anyone, any slicer, or click on the slicer. So take a region and click on that, or a state or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right click. Right click. Yeah. There's a report connection that you see. Yeah. Click on that. Do you see a dialog box?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't see it because that is not shared. You're shared on the Excel, so we don't see it. But you see the dialog box where you have check boxes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, which checkbox is selected?
Product sales.
Yeah. So that is what the one of the chart, right? So you may want to collect to both the charts. So you may need to select that appropriately. So you may not see as many sheets that what you saw in my screen, because I had so many worksheets. You may see your sheets, the category sales, state sales, product sales, kind of a thing. So is it
So
working
this
now?
report connections we need to do for slicer, each of the slicer.
Yes. each of the slices and timeline. And it should be done individually. I mean, each slicer you should do it. Here also you'll see your report connection.
Okay, got it.
It's working fine?
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So so that kind of finishes all the work that we're supposed to do. So it's a 3-hour session, but we actually have more work to do in 2.5 hours essentially. So we have covered what is required to be covered in this session. The last half an hour is for you to work on some kind of exercise. Okay. So how many of you already done the chart? I mean, how many of you already done the dashboard? I think almost everybody has done it, right? Just raise your hand to show how many of you done it.
It is done. Could you please recheck it if it is done correctly or not? Because the connections and everything just need to. I feel there is some goof up. Actually, I was trying it.
Okay. Okay.
Can I showcase my screen?
Yes. Yes. Please do that.
Shrikant,
Yeah.
while Atul was sharing the screen, you remember you had one aspect saying that there is a insert slicer option directly from the main menu as well as from the pivot analyze.
Right. Yeah.
If you can help us understand what is the difference or does it have any kind of impact or influence?
So what happens is that when you select a pivot chart and insert, that connections get established by default automatically.
Okay.
Right. When you do that insert thing, then you need to create that connections yourself, which is a little cumbersome. So it's always a good idea to start with this one. Yeah.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah. Should I just share my screen?
Yes. Yes. Please.
Yeah. Yes. So this is the chart I have done over here. Okay. So I've made a dashboard sheet over here.
Okay.
And then
Just
top
a minute.
5 products I have made, category wise sale and these things. Now I have done interlinking connections as such. Okay. Suppose if I state city wise, but these things are coming, but just need to know if that is right. Suppose if I need to select Alabama state and I select this, so this things it is working fine, right?
Yes. Yes. It is working fine. Yes.
But then August, if I click over here, then there is no data as such.
There is no data. Yeah, because there is no data. I said there's nothing ordered for that particular city in the month of August.
Okay.
That is how it would be. Yeah.
Achha.
Cool.
Cool.
So okay. So what I will do now, I'll be so everybody's on a WhatsApp group, right? I'll actually send one file on WhatsApp group. It's a big file in a way. So I want you to create this dashboard on that using that data. Okay, it's a big data, by the way, so it may take some time for you to download also. So the reason I'm telling you to do that, because we have learned on this data, and this data was that was simple also, and you know the background and so on. So we spent 2.5 hours with this data, so that is definitely good. But now we want to just test ourselves, so it's like an exam in a way, but not as a traditional academic way. But I wanted to use this new data altogether, and this is a big data. This is a bigger data actually than what we have seen so far. So this is a bigger data, but just download this data and try it creating. And I wanted to follow the sequence properly. So you may want to open that Excel file. So let me just open that Excel file here. Let me just share my screen. Sorry. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. So this is a much bigger data in a way. So if you go down, it is more than 1 lakh records which are there. Okay, so if your laptop is has less memory or something, you may want to close the other Excel file and close everything else in a way, and just use this Excel file to work with. Obviously, don't close the uh, online meeting Google Gmeet, but otherwise close the other Excel file and work with this data. It has cost, revenue, those kind of numbers, and it's a similar one. It's a sales data essentially, so category, subcategory kind of a thing. So but it's a new data. It's entirely new data. So use this data and create a dashboard for this data. That's an exercise, right? So once you do it, then we are done for the workshop. So once you do it, you share the screen. We'll discuss quickly about this, and then you can exit. So generally it takes 20 minutes or so, 15 to 20 minutes to do it, but take your own time. I mean, everybody will have its own speed. So take your own time, and if needed, we'll extend it beyond 1 p.m. If you don't finish within next 20 25 minutes, we'll extend beyond 1 p.m. But we'll ensure that you are able to create a dashboard at the end of it, right? So take your time. I'm available. So if any questions, you can ask me in between while everybody is working on their Excel. And once you're done, show it to me by sharing the screen, and then you can take an exit. So I'm sure you will be done in next 20 minutes or so, but yeah, take your own time. Any questions in between, please ask me. Okay, Vidya. So there is a request from Vidya saying, can you summarize the session? I missed the starting 1 hour due to network issues. So what I'll do is I'll kind of quickly go through whatever we discussed so far. Those who are continuing to work on their dashboard, please do so. This is more for the benefit of people who might have came late, right? So let me just quickly share the other screen. Or let me do one thing with them. I will show the same data, and then maybe uh, we'll do the same thing with the same data. So it will also be helpful for others. So let me use this new file for showing what I've done earlier to begin with.
Yes, sir.
Adds the summary also, and it's also helpful. Just let me open it. Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes. So anytime when we get data like this, the first step that we should do. So let me first save as this file. Let me. So it's a big file. Okay. So the first thing that we are doing is to format it as table. This is not a compulsory step. You could always go and insert pivot chart and pivot table with this. So you can always do that when you have a cursor inside it. You could always do this, and it will select the range appropriately. But it's like a good best practice or a good practice to always format it as a table instead of uh, you know inserting data directly in a pivot table. So format as a table is an option over here. You can click and select any one of it. Okay. So you will see that it also selects automatically the whole range and says my data has headers, that is it kind of detected. This is okay, and it will create it like this, right? So once you have this, this can also auto expand if you want to. So for example, if you want to calculate profit, I can type in here, it will actually auto expand. Okay, so it can actually auto expand and you will see a new column added. So it's really helpful. So when you create a new pivot table from a table instead of a range, you have advantage that if you add a new rows or new columns, that will get automatically added there. Okay. So let me just undo for the time being. I will not add a column right now. Let me go ahead and insert a pivot chart and pivot table. Okay. So I'm just getting that. So let us do the similar way. So we'll do category wise sales. So there's a product category over here, and there's this revenue over here. It's a term which is revenue. So I do that. There is the one thing that I get it. So category wise sales. So here I can click on this product category button. Click on that, and there I will do two things. I will do the sorting. Okay. So typical sorting will happen as per the alphabetical, but I can do more sort options. Go to descending and do sorting by sum of revenue. Okay. So if I click on sum of revenue, I get sorting like this. Okay. So this is one thing that I will do. I'll just rename it as a category wise sales or revenue, either way. Okay. I'm just copying it and renaming the sheet also accordingly. Okay, so I created this. I can also hide this legend and a grid lines and make it like this. Okay, so I get this categories revenue. That's one chart that I got. I can go to sales data, insert, pivot chart, and pivot table. Generally, it's a good practice to do it in new worksheet. You may do it in the same worksheet, but it actually becomes unmanageable. And sometimes if you have multiple pivot tables in one worksheet, it starts crashing also. And we have too much of a data. This is more than 1 lakh data. So it's preferable to go to new worksheet. Okay. Now here I want to do product, top 5 products. So I'll go ahead and I have a product here. And I go with revenue again. Okay. Now one is I want to sort, right? So that I'll do first. So let me just sort it. Product. I say more sort options. Descending. I sort it. Sum of revenues. So I have sorted it. Right. The second thing I will do is I want to have a top 5 products. So I'll filter it. Okay. So again, I go to product. There are 2 types of filter, label filter and value filters. I'll pick up value filters and I'll pick up top 10 because that's a top thing. It could be top or bottom. It need not be 10. You can do it top 5. It could be items or percent or sum, either way, by sum of revenue. So it is top show top 5 items by sum of revenue. I say okay and I get this. Okay. Now, since there are long labels, as we discussed in slideshow presentation, we want to change. So for that, I need to go to pivot chart design tab and say change chart type. So there I can select a bar chart, okay, which will look like this. Okay, I can click on this and it will look like this. Okay, I think we didn't sort it. So we need to sort it also. No, I did sort. Okay. Okay, so and again I may want to hide this legend and the grid lines. This is how I get it. Is it clear so far, Vidya?
Yes.
Okay. And now you know how to create a dashboard, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, then I'll just, so yeah, before that, let me just rename this properly. Let me say top 5 products. And rename the worksheet also properly. Yeah. Fair enough. So from now onwards, I think you are there, right? When you create a dashboard and those kind of.
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Now here you may create a dashboard. Okay. So instead of I creating, let me see if someone has already created a dashboard by now. Is there anybody who can raise your hand if you're done with the dashboard? It's still 15 minutes. That means yeah, but I think Vatsal has done it. So Vatsal, will you like to share your screen? Let me stop sharing.
Before I share it, I wanted to double check. Does it matter what category, like what categories I select, or can I select? Like I can just show you one second.
Sure. I think this is Satish who's sharing, right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Satish. So this is the one which you did. Okay. Cool. So did you link it properly, all the slicers to all the charts? Okay. Very good. Yeah, you may want to clear that filter. Yeah. Okay. That's perfect. So now what would happen is sky is the limit in a sense. How do you want to do it? So you may want to arrange in such a way. I think you did a good way of arranging, but you have some space left in the top in the bottom right corner. So you may want to use that space. You may want to arrange timeline towards the right and maybe expand these slices a little bigger. So those kind of things you could do. You could also hide the grid lines. It may not add so much of value because you added labels, for example, sales by product category. So you may do that. So there are many things that could be done. Essentially, this looks a little better also when you do that, right? but it's a good one. I think you are done in a way. Yeah, perfect, perfect. So what I would suggest, those who are done, they may leave, but they may also stay back to see what others have done. That's also good learning. So it's 12:50. We have still 10 minutes to go. So I would suggest, let us see everybody else also what work they have done. Yeah. So yes, Vatsal, do you want to share your screen now? So I'm just making a note that Satish has done. Let us see Vatsal. Yes, Vatsal, you have arranged it. Okay, and you use some different styles for it. Okay, for slices. Good, and you have linked it. Correct. Did you hide the grid lines? Okay, yeah. Okay, fair enough. Did you could you link it properly for both charts for the timeline? Okay, because the slice is working fine. Yeah, timeline also working fine. Okay, Vatsal. Any questions that you have? Is it like?
Is it possible to change the type of this graph in the dashboard itself?
What is that? What do you want to change?
From the column chart to bar chart, yeah, I need to change the graph.
Yes, you can always change it. No issues.
How is that directly in the dashboard?
Directly in the dashboard, or you can, yeah, you can try doing that. Let us, Vatsal, can you just do that? Can you just change the total revenue by country, make it column chart? In the design, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Just go and check in the worksheet whether it has changed there also. Let us see that. Yes, it changed there also, right? So it kind of, there's the same copy that we have. Right? So I'm sure if you have changed here, it will also get reflected there. So either way it should work. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Satish?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Great, Vatsal. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else you'd like to share the screen now?
Yeah, Shrikant, I can do next, or
Yes.
is it?
Yeah. You can go next. I'm just noting down Vasanti plus Umana.
Ah, thank you. Going to see my screen?
Yes, it is same. Okay, so you are showing. Okay, but why are you using line chart?
I was just trying to see the cost to revenue trend for different products, like how it is going on. So just exploring that aspect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, but yeah, ideally should not use.
Yeah.
Bar chart. But yeah, just for exploring, I think it's a good idea to do. And you're using customer age here. Okay, and then
Yeah.
you also arrange it properly so that it's like readable in a way. That's good. Multiple columns makes sense here.
Mm.
Yeah, very good, very good. But you have a lot of space in a sense on the right
Yeah,
hand.
yeah. I had space, so I was just trying to the base and how does it kind of work.
But I think this is fine. I mean, this is good. So you're using multi-column slicers and this kind of a thing. So that's really good. Good, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So who's coming next?
Srikanth, I'm done, but I'm having issues sharing. Okay, but I'm done with
Okay.
slicers, one timeline.
Okay. No issues. No issues. It's almost 1. So those who are done may choose to leave. So I will stay back because I want to see everyone's dashboard. So those who are done, they may choose to leave or can stay back. But those who are not done, please stay back. Show it to me and then you can take an exit. So far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people are done. So whoever is done, just raise your hand and then we can share your screen. So Atul, I'm counting you as a done.
Okay, yeah, sure. You will be sharing the link to this recording, right, Srikanth?
Yes, I'll share the link. So in case you want to refer back, you can always do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Srikanth, just Mandar here, Srikanth. Yeah. Just wanted to renote that. Tell you ki there was a link that you were going to share for YouTube link. So please share it on the link. Okay, so that will be easy for us to see that video also.
Yes. That's
I am also done, so I can showcase you. So kindly let me know if it is.
Yes. Go ahead, Mandar.
Yeah. So I hope can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So this I have done top 5 revenue wise state, country wise sale, and this is what I have done is.
Yeah,
sorry,
you put the title. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I will put the title over there. That is country wise
revenue.
Yeah, country wise revenue.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So if I click over here in Australia, year wise, if I say time frame wise, then this data is changing altogether.
Yes.
So in Canada, France, city country wise, if I can see, state wise, the data is being connected.
Right. So you use 3 charts, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Very good. So I think going forward, since you work in HR, any HR data that you send, you may also send some dashboard along with it.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
People can use it.
Yes, this will be helpful for me.
This will be helpful.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Done.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, who is coming next now?
Thank you.
Thanks, Atul.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah.
Can I?
Yes, Lavanya. Yeah, please.
Actually, I'm having some doubt.
Yes, we can see your screen. Okay. Can you just clear the filter for the date? I guess that would be helpful, so that we know it is working. You don't see the data? Okay. Yes, thanks, Mandar. Yeah. Okay, so now you see, so all the filters are cleared. Then why do we see only this? Do you have a filters in the worksheets? Have you applied filters in the worksheet? So you go to these charts. Yeah, did you apply any slicer here? No. So you have filtered over here. That's fine, but did you apply any filter? Can you just remove all filters on the chart, or are there any filters? Now it is working fine, right? Okay. Okay. I think this product you may want to filter, right, Lavanya?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. But I guess you now got it. Good. I shared my email address, so I think Shital asked me to share my address so that she can share the thing. But I'll share it for everyone, so you can always use that. Okay. So Shital, I'm for the time being counting you as yes. What about Dr. Dr. Samruddhi? You're also done. I mean, you and Lavanya are working together. Okay. Okay. So I'll count you also as done. Okay. Okay. So Shital is Vasanthi is done. Vatsal is done. So Vidya, you are the only person remaining as of now. Will you need more time?
I'll do it and I will share it with you then. Because
Okay.
I didn't do that, so I'm doing it.
Okay, fair enough. So I have shared my email address. So you can just drop me an email. You can take a screenshot or a photo of it and then just share it on the email address, or in the group also you can post it. Not an
Okay.
issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then. Okay. So that brings us to the end of the session. Any questions before we close? Okay. So if there are no questions, let us close it now. And but this is, I mean, it's not done ended here. If you have any queries, you can always put it on this group. So we'll have this group on for a few more days. So I'll share some more learning resources, additional learning resources, if there are any interesting ones. And you can also ask any queries on the group. Yeah. So with this, let me close the call now. Thank you very much for attending, and I hope you all found it useful.
Thanks, Shrikant. It was a really nice session.
Thank you. Yeah, let me. Yeah, my pleasure, Dr. Samruddhi. Thank you very much.